Wave Beats Music. Wait.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank all of you to take out time logging in and having a look at our demonstration. My name is Navish and I work with Scoop. I would like to welcome everyone on our platform with a glimpse of Scoop Film.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm bring me down, can't run me, bring me down, love it too, bring me down, I said. Because I'm happy. Come on, if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm
This was a short glimpse of our past production and management services. But as we all know, the times are changing, so we have also made some changes to our existing service infrastructure. It has almost been a month since we've been working on a digital platform to provide you all with futuristic event experience in the safety of your homes and your offices, or in some cases, the confines of a studio. Our new found digital team has worked effortlessly and experimented in getting it ready for the market that awaits a new different. Keeping our vision in focus to the all new Scoop, let's introduce you all to the set experience of Scoop Digital. As you're already witnessing the features of the platform, I'd like to explain that we can use static backdrops and dynamic backdrops for any template at any given sequence of the event. The same information is also being passed on the tickers below. These tickers can also give any additional information at any given specific time or sequence of the event. Moving forward, I will also let us demo a multi-speaker feature in a panel discussion format. This is going to give you enough ideas on how your event is going to look to your favorite audiences on various digital streams that are being offered through our platform. Therefore, I'd like to invite our first speaker. Hi.
Hello everyone,
As
good
you
afternoon.
already as you already witnessed the audio background score that came in on the speaker entry, I'd like to mention that we can have this customized and changed on separate entries depending on the event, like panel discussion conferences, award nights, R&R sessions. All these audios can be customized according to the entries and exits on the template. Moving forward, I'd like to invite our second speaker.
Hello guys.
Would call upon our third speaker.
Hello everyone, good afternoon.
Finally, a reference view with a five speaker.
Hello everyone.
These were separate views for your reference and a sequence where we showed how we can bring in speakers on a same panel. We also have a possibility of giving a title name on the template. We already have a sticker running below. Now, please allow me to demonstrate the presentation feature. This is one of the views that is being offered with the live stream of the presenter and a view of the slide on the template. There is another view wherein the slide takes in the entire space on the screen along with the audio feed of the presenter. As mentioned in the ticker, there is also a possibility of giving a remote control to the speaker sitting in his house to control the presentation through his laptop, phone, iPad, or also the presentation can be controlled at our studio by our show caller. Let's move on to the next feature. We can also bring in video feed from various video apps like Zoom, Skype, Google Hangouts, Google Meet. This could be a way of audience interactions with presenters or for any other purpose at your event. Uh, could we please have a Zoom feed on the template? Hello.
Hi guys,
So
can you
as
hear
you
me?
can see, we can bring in both video and audio from other video applications, making this truly a two-way interaction. We can also bring in live comments from social media platforms for Q&A or any other purpose. The social media platforms that we are passing the stream to also has a chat box where these comments go in, like the one that you see on the top that is coming from Facebook. For your information, all of these comments can also be moderated, and post moderation are sent up to the server. Now, I would request our team to give us a virtual set view. So this is one of the references of a virtual set view. We can give in separate video feeds at separate video sources. I would start with left and right screens where you already see mine and Archit's feed coming in. The skyline behind our colleague sitting in the t-shirt behind the table. This is also a source of a video feed. If we could please have a video feed instead of the skyline. The table fascia that you see with the Scoop logo is also a source of the video feed. And Anupam, who's sitting behind the table, is actually sitting in front of a green screen in our office. And we have taken the green screen video grab and put it on the template behind the table. In case of panel discussions, we can also have multiple speakers sitting in the confines of their homes in front of a green screen. We can take in a green feed, put them behind the table, and in this way, all the presenters and speakers can have a face-to-face discussion in the audience view around the table. This is one of the references. I would also like to show you the live video capture that we are taking from our office of Anupam's green screen. We could please have the second virtual set reference. So as you see, Anupam is sitting right in front of the green screen. This is how we are bringing his feed on the virtual set. So we can customize these sets according to events requirements. That is, in that case, any branding or any customization is possible in terms of these sets. I would like to move forward and give you a reference of the demo recordings of a few artist performances that we have done. If we could please have the recordings, the video.
As I walk down this empty street alive, I see you standing there, and as you pass by, you always say your smile to brighten up.
I would just like to give you a background of these recordings. we've had these individual artists perform at their homes in front of a green screen. We've taken their green screen video feed along with their audio feed, put it on our server. The 3D environment has been done in-house by our own designer. We had requested one of the VJs to send in visual feeds. He was sitting in Bombay. These performers were from Bombay and Bangalore. We have brought in their feeds, put it in our server, and have done these recordings of the live demo rehearsals that we were doing. I would now like to move on to our next feature. Uh, we would request you to go to your chat boxes. The next feature that I'm talking about is live polling. We would also want you to experience live polling that we offer. You will have a live link that will pop up on your chat boxes. If you will click this link, you will be routed to a Google Sheet. You can give your feedbacks to the various questions that we have put, and as soon as you will submit your forms, you will see live changes happening on the slide of the poll. So as you see, the results are changing as soon as someone is submitting their form. At the same given point of time, the results keep on changing. This is a way of taking feedback on some sessions. This is a way where we could give a presenter an option of polling between the presentation. Anything in that case is possible. I would also like to mention that apart from this platform, we offer a complete show package solution wherein we can help with content and creative. We can provide full show running team for the show, for speaker coordination, for artist coordination if there are any artist performances. Uh, in case there has to be a show caller or there has to be a person in the show running team from one of your in-house teams, we can also send in app link to your phone. After you download that link, you can have live show calling happening on this app while your colleague is sitting in the confines of their home. If we could please, Tushar, if you could please take us back to the panel view. We are done with our demonstration. If you guys, we're more than happy to answer any questions for any clarities, whatever required. Any questions?
What you decide as a agency to make them see. So today, for example, we had a starting soon screen. It could be any other creative. It could be a lobby look, which is probably if you've done a beginning of an animation, for example, of stepping into a hotel. So it could be a look of outside the gates. It could be anything that you decide creatively as part of your event to show your audiences.
But is that a constant or is that interactive where I can move around and see things?
No, it's a constant. This is a feed, so it's not an application. This is a feed that's coming to. It's a video feed that's coming to you.
Okay, fine. I mean, so it's a video feed, not an environment.
Correct.
Okay. And then from there on, obviously it's not interactive. People will see what we will show them.
Absolutely. It is interactive to the extent of chats and polls and everything else. But also what one must remember is that in most cases, all the interactive stuff that you're seeing is fair for events that are day longs like conferences and expos and things where you want people to wander around and do things. But
No.
the issue,
Understood. That is understood.
issue with environments also is that you may not have all your audience in your room where you're doing your broadcast in an environment at the time you need them to.
And when I arrive, let's say if I put up a pre-function area with an information desk, will people be able to interact with the info desk, or it's no?
Like I said, this is a feed, so those are environment related elements. We've also got a separate tie-up where we are working with the environment kind of element. So what could be that your landing and registration and everything could be that environment, and then later you get into the feed. But please do remember that in a scenario like that, you cannot guide the audience. The audience is free to be wherever they are. So you may have started your event, but they may not be in the event room to witness the opening or the CEO speech or whatever else.
Any restriction on numbers? How many people can I have on this in one go?
Restrictions, not really, because it depends completely upon the platforms that we are going to. So, for example, Zoom today that we are on, you can do about 4,000-5,000. We are also going live on Facebook and YouTube where you can do millions. If we are using a private webcast server, which is essentially secure for a corporate environment, there again we can decide whether you want 300 or 30,000. So in terms of restrictions like that, there are no restrictions. In terms of videos, for two-way chats, in terms of how many peoples that we can integrate from the point of view of audience interaction, that part of it is limited to our meetings apps. So if you're, for example, using, so our system can take eight speakers per production machine. So if you're deploying one production machine for your show, we can take 8 speakers in. Today, as you see on screen, we've got 5, right? Beyond that, we use meetings apps for integrations. And then those meetings app, whatever their limitations are, depending on what memberships you've taken. So some memberships allow you 100 people in the meeting, some allow you 40, 50, some allow you up to 300. So those are dependent on that. So
And this will this will work across laptops, mobiles, and everything, apps, etc.
absolutely. We send out multi-bit rates. So depending upon where you're going on to, the streams are adaptive. Whatever your device is, whatever your connection speed is, the stream kind of adapts to it accordingly.
And these 8 speakers can be in 8 different locations.
They're all currently in 8 different locations. Even right now, what you see on screen, they're all in their homes.
Okay, got that. Okay, anyone else has any other questions? What is typically the time lag between the video starting and the video hitting the web or the audience getting it?
So application to application, there is a bit of a difference. Zoom, for example, we are right now in a two-way communication. So as you can see, it's virtually real time. It's a couple of milliseconds. So I can be talking to Navish right now and he will respond to us in a natural conversation. So because it's a couple of milliseconds. With Facebook and YouTube, it tends to be about 8 to 10 seconds. With other streaming services, if you are adapting an ultra low latency streaming service, then we can go down up to 5 seconds or 4 seconds, depending upon how we're doing it. In cases, we can even do 10-minute lags. So these are questions that are absolutely in control. But average, if you are doing public platforms, it is about 8 to 10 seconds.
Do you also have certain pre-designed sets which you can offer me? मेरे को भाई अब मोटी बात की जाए तो परसों एक पिच जमा करनी है तो उसमें अगर मैं लोगो शो को भेज दूं तो do you have certain ready-made creatives also where which we can work on?
We do have certain ready-made creatives for sure, but we'll share them with you. Have a look. If you like some of them, we can always customize them. That's not a problem.
ठीक है.
I have a question with regards to the panelists, which I can see now on screen. Can we change the panelists? So, for example, the first half an hour can be 8 panelists. Then after that, immediately change to other half and to other 8, and then subsequently keep changing them, or will it take time?
So, if you have more than 8 panelists per show in a show, then what we can do is we can deploy 2 production machines rather than 1. So the 2 machines talk to each other. your one panel is set up on one machine, and that's what's broadcasting, say, for the moment. Your next panel is being readied by another colleague of ours in the office on a different machine. And the feeds are composed on that machine. Everything is done, therefore, from that machine. And when it comes to time for broadcast, he just sends that feed out onto the main production machine, and that machine starts broadcasting. So we can do it that way, or what we can do is we can do password recycling, where speaker one in panel 1 and maybe speaker 1 in panel 2 have the same password. So once the sessions have finished, and you've got, say, an AV playing for 8 or 10 minutes, or you have a break, or whatever the case may be, then in those cases, you can recycle the passwords faster.
What is the switchover time from in such an environment where you need to change?
See, if you've done the tests earlier with the speakers, it's pretty much as one person disconnecting and the other person connecting again. But in terms of comfort, because it's over the internet, things can go wrong. Ideally, 3 to 4 to 5 minutes. Because if stuff is wrong, then at least we are able to contact them, have a conversation with them, look at their internet speeds, if they need to reboot their routers, whatever the case may be. Because internet transport with most of our home internets, sometimes you're getting good speed and suddenly kind of it will drop. So to keep that in mind, it's ideal that you have a break. Otherwise, if you're using two systems, then break is unimportant, because while you are using one machine for one panel, the second production system is already getting ready. So you may have your speakers logging in 15 minutes ahead, and they're already tested, and one panel finishes, and immediately, you have a 30-second film as a breather or whatever the case may be, or an MC interaction, and bang, you go into the second one. So totally depends upon the environment that we are implementing for a particular event. There is no standard here. We can take breaks, or we can go one after the other, but obviously with two machines, pricing and all becomes different.
Abhishek, this is Ram.
Hi, Ram.
Sorry, Rohan, have you finished? Go ahead. Rohan.
No, you go ahead. I have another question. I have a question.
Go for it.
So if it's a webinar format, in terms where there is attendees and there are, if I'm talking specifically about Zoom, where there are where there's a panelist and there are attendees. Now, can we do this background which you have done, the scoop background, for if it's a webinar format for the panelists? So if there are, for example, 8 to 10 panelists, can we do it for them? Not through this software which you are going through, where it limits to 8 people.
No, so like I said, the limit is basis of machine, right? Now, if for example you want more panelists, we can do a separate Skype call, and you can have 10 panelists there, and we can take all of those 10 into our system, so they don't have to enter Zoom at all.
Okay, right? And
in your webinar, you get a composited feed. So, like I said, the solution actually depends upon what you're intending to do. The system is pretty open; it's pretty adaptable. We can use WebEx, we can integrate into WebEx, we can integrate into Teams, we can integrate into Zoom, we can integrate into Skype. Skype ideally, because Skype allows you to do something called NDI, which is essentially a direct feed. So for example, on the current window, we are 12 of us. So if you, for example, using Skype currently, all 12 video feeds will be available to us in the system independently, without this window interface or the speaker view or whatever we are looking at. It will be available as 12 camera inputs to us into our system.
And how will the panelists see the audience on another laptop on Zoom, or how does he see it?
No. So essentially, for example, when they log into our system, the reason why we prefer to use our system is because of these reasons, right? Tushar, can you move the screen into, say, a foldback of sorts? So we can, for the panelists, customize foldback. So imagine you have an MC. The MC is only getting a MC script on their foldback. They are not seeing the audio, right? You can decide that you have a presenter who needs to see his presentation and only the MC. We can customize it at that. So basically, our system allows us to create 4 or 5 outputs. And basis those 4 and 5 outputs, one output could be a main output, and 4 separate outputs could be used between your speakers. So, for example, here you see there is a now you will see that there is a window with the 5 panelists, there is a timer running, and there is a teleprompter running.
Okay.
Right?
Only I'll be able to see it. You'll have to
as a panelist, if we decide only you are seeing it, only you'll be able to see it. If we decide that all 5 or 8 panelists see it, all 5 or 8 of them will see it, or only the MC sees it, only the MC will see it, and then everybody will get a world view. So if you log in as a panel, essentially your view consists of two windows. One is a smaller window, like if you're, for example, using a WhatsApp call or a FaceTime or whatever, which is your own video window, and there is a larger window which is a foldback that we control.
Okay.
So we can throw anything onto that foldback.
Okay.
So basically, you have the hi, this is Ram. So basically, you have the multi-platform embedded onto your main server.
Yeah.
So if I'm a presenter or if I am one of the panelists, I enter your platform first, and then through that I decide whether I'm on WhatsApp or Skype or Zoom or is that how it works?
No. So essentially, up to 8 panelists, you don't need to do anything. You just log into our system. We control
Right.
everything. We can talk to you from there. We have producers talk back. We have everything on the system. Okay. So it's like a video call into the system.
Right.
This is cloud hosting kind of a.
This is peer-to-peer calling, and the hosting is our machine. So we currently, these machines that we are doing the demo on today are sitting in our office. We can even get onto the cloud. So if you have a client, for example, who says, I want to operate within the Google environment because of my security and all of that, I don't want to go to a third party. A lot of those corporate clients kind of end up saying this. So in our case, we deploy the system in Google or AWS, whatever the case may be, and then we are sitting within the same secure environment. So all the calls are coming into us on AWS. If you are deployed onto AWS, because they're hitting our machine straight, and the feed is probably going out routed through AWS Live Media or Azure Media Services or whatever the case may be. So in that sense, like I said, the system is extremely flexible. It's adaptable to the extent of how creative we want it to be.
No, more than creative, it was of course from the point of view of effectiveness for the panelists, or basically creating a lesser hassle for them to log into an event or a press conference or a webinar or whatever, right? Zoom they come in, they log in, they wait, they're in there for sent to the waiting room. From the waiting room, they are sent to the panelist room. From the panelist, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying, so all this is minimized. You're saying I need to basically just log into your system, and then you take it over from there as to whatever needs to be done, right?
Correct. So in our case, what happens is that we send you a simple link, which is digital.scoop.events, and we send you a password. We don't even send you a username.
Right.
So you decide what username you want to use. If you want to write Ram, or you just want to push in your initials, just put the password that we provided you, and bang, you're connected into the system. Now, beyond that, in terms of color correction, in terms of audio correction, if you want to apply any kind of VST3 plugins to improve your audio, add reverb, add delay, EQ, reduce the noise, whatever we want to do, we can control all of that in our system.
Can you improve latency as well if it's a music scene?
Yes.
So if I'm a musician sitting in my house and I'm basically trying to host a music, performance of 10 minutes from your platform, will you be able to eliminate the latency on the platform?
So
live, like if I get two people to play at the same time.
So people at the same time, Ram, is something we're testing at the moment.
So I was just figuring that. Cool. So whenever you get that, please let me know. I would definitely be interested to find that out.
Yeah. So there are some successes we found in that. There are some failures. So because it's currently unstable, we are doing some other trials with some other systems as well.
Right.
Because that is more a function of the issue is more quality of audio.
Correct.
Right. So quality of audio coming in, most WebRTC clients which are web-based currently allow you only about 4400. But ideally for music, if you're doing over the web broadcast quality, you want 182. So those are things that we are testing out, and the fact that you need to have.
I'm saying you can also integrate with the Dolby platform, right? If it comes to the sound part. No, it's more than the sound part. It's just the latency issue that has been,
Correct. The latency issues are what we are resolving.
Cool.
Solo performers, like we showed you in the
solo
video.
तो हो ही सकता है. Solo तो problem ही नहीं है. Potentially.
Solo we can do visuals, we can put them onto sets, we can do everything.
Right.
Sorry, I have one more question. With regards to turning this around, for example, from scratch to customize it, and with the demo and changes and all those things, so how much time typically would it take? Can you give me like a range from the time we give you a brief till delivery?
If you're doing the creatives, and say your show is 40 presets, 6 hours from your creatives reaching us.
6 hours, that's
6 hours from your creatives reaching us, we are ready for the show, or for the demo, whatever you like. like to call it.
if we are doing the creative. Okay, and this is the format what you are showing me exactly.
No, see, like the format is concerned, this could be an event set.
Yeah,
Right?
if
The
it
PDF
is
could be an event set and your videos could be on screen.
okay.
The format, like we said, is completely creative dependent. This is something that we're just showing you from the purpose of a demo. The creative could be anything.
So I can send you a creative, and my presenter can be anywhere, and it can be cut pasted into the creative
Yes.
if
yes.
it's on a green screen.
I'm sure you've seen the show that we've done recently. You've seen some screenshots with a friend of yours. We've kind of got everybody into the set there.
Yes. And also a product can also be integrated, like a car launch है तो एक car वहाँ virtual भी आ सकती है और वो भी आ सकती है. To get a virtual car, would you need a 3D of that, or what will you need?
We'll need a 3D. We'll need a 3D animation of the car, ideally on an alpha layer or something, and then we can bring it in.
Tell me, the presentations that the presenters are going to make are going to happen from their laptops, or do I give it to you and he still will have some kind of control on it?
So we have multiple options on that. One option is that you give us the presentation, we run it, we rehearse it with them, and we run it for them.
But who has the control to switch slides, the client or you?
In that case, we have it.
Okay.
Option 2 is that the presentation is running on our laptop, but we've given them a remote over the internet. So
that's what I'm asking. So he can have a remote where he can control the.
The option 3 is that they don't give us the presentation at all. So if they have an Office 365 subscription, for example, we will teach them how to generate a live presentation browser link. They just send us that link. They don't even send us the document. We input that link into a browser and we capture their presentation live when they're making it. So the file rests on their machine. They don't even.
What is the time lag between their sending the link to you and you're putting it live on the system?
2 to 3 minutes.
Oh, that's not a huge time gap.
Yeah, because
because sometimes the client are touchy, यार मैं नहीं अभी presentation नहीं दूंगा, मैं जब शुरू होना होगा तब दूंगा.
But ideally ये है कि अगर पहले मिल जाए, then if you need to crop anything, make it look nice, zoom करना है, छोटा करना है, preset में डालना है, creative के अंदर डालना है, then at least if we have it in time, it gives us the opportunity to do that. Otherwise last minute पे आया तो options are limited, saying full screen डाल दे, जितना आ रहा है छोड़ दे, because then you can't play with it in real time. So those are things that we'll have to then in that case move up and down.
Any size restriction of the presentation, or it can be any size with videos embedded, audio, and all of it in it? If you're using it on the browser?
Browser, again, see, if you're doing videos, most browsers don't play videos very well. So those are ideally videos, we would say, send us the videos. So when it comes to a slide, the presenter just gives us a cue and we punch the video in. Because then it comes in as a video stream rather than an HLS or a Flash or whatever the browser is kind of trying to push it as. It's the quality there.
Or a remote access feed into your server will work, right?
We don't need to do that remote access.
You don't need to have remote access. Okay.
So we also have a few questions coming in from Facebook.
Resolution of videos. We can do streams up to 4K, but internet in India will not allow us 4K. So in that sense, there is no real restriction. It basically depends upon us in terms of what platforms we are reaching out to. So Zoom, for example, we can't go over full HD. If you're using WebEx as a platform to go out to, most WebExes don't allow you more than 640 480. Even though you set up everything for HD, if you actually look at the data coming in from WebEx, it's 640 480. So it's dependent upon what platform we are going into. So if you're, for example, using a Wowza streaming engine, which is a private server, so to speak, which you can set up for an event, and after the event, the content and the server and everything is gone, there's no trace of it. In that case, you can decide to go right up to 4K, but your clients then need to have the bandwidth to be able to watch it in that resolution. Or otherwise, you would have spent the money for 4K and then be using 360p streams because their internet connections don't allow you that.
Hi, so Abhishek, I asked you the question about the resolution. Can you tell me what sort of a speed you would actually need if I want to go to 4K?
See, in our case,
I've got a couple of events and we're planning to host them out of our client's office. So I'm sure they've got very good bandwidth there. So can you just tell me what you need in terms of upload?
See, for us, upload is not a problem. We can upload 4K. We've got enough speed. We run a GBPS speed with, in fact, 2 connections, a backup as well. Or we've got a cloud backup. So in our case, we are running 10 Gbps on the cloud. It's more at the user device, right? So if the user device is on 4G or not receiving
You mean the attendees, basically?
the attendees, yeah.
That would be a problem. So typically, if I'm using this laptop camera as I am right now, I'm on Zoom right now, versus me plugging in a 4K camera that we use for event recordings, net, even that will end up getting scaled down to whatever 400p or something, right?
No, so on our platform, we can take you up to 4K.
You can.
We can.
But no, to also ensure that the attendees can watch it even in their smaller devices or low internet.
Ideally, a nice full HD camera like a Sony AX, if you're using an external camera, which is controllable, is the best thing to use. The system also allows us to use remote IP cameras. So if you, for example, have a PTZ optics camera where we can kind of get access to the IP, then we can control that camera in real time from the studio through the production systems, right? So in that case, you don't even need anybody to call into the system or whatever the case may be. Just that camera feed comes in, and we've got access control along with tally light control on that camera. So whenever we are using that camera, the tally lights will come on, and they know that, okay, this is the camera that's kind of now going live on it.
And also, since a lot of us are not used to, we're used to running physical consoles, and of course now there's a digital console. What all sort of applications do you have at your end? Like, can you fade in, fade out the music? What all stuff? Because generally, otherwise on these things, the music just goes cut off. I've seen a lot of events, people don't end up fading it out. So what sort of, plugins or add-ons are you using to the backend?
So in terms of plugins, we can use any VST3, which is pretty much what most of the professional studio world or the live world today uses.
Right.
So we can decide to apply any plugin onto any channel. Okay. So I could be using a noise gate, I could be using a reverb, delay, whatever I'd like to use on every channel individually. We also have a mix module where we can control every channel, we can control the audio of every channel, we can decide. So we can even set up buses. So for example, on a master bus, we may be sending out our broadcast, but on a bus A, we could just have a speaker channel where the speakers can communicate with each other even when they're
great. Offline as well. When they're not live, you mean?
When they're not live. So they could still be in conversation. They may not be able to see each other's videos, but audio-wise, they could still be in conversation, and that audio may not still go into the master because we put them on a separate bus.
Also, the typical issue of physical events, how much have you planned, you make show flows, the client has a lot of changes. I understand that in digital we'll have to be a little more particular, but how can we accommodate changes? So is the backend, suppose I have multiple AVs animations, is your backend like a watch out where you line them up completely in order of the show flow? How does it work?
So, okay, so in that, what we've been doing is that we've been playing this as per show requirements. In some cases, we've actually, for videos, ended up using a third-party system, which is not even our machine. We're sending an NDI in from a third-party video server. So in case of a change, we know, okay, AV1 is not playing now. We will first go to AV4 and then come back to AV1. So therefore, the show operator is not then worried about what preset he needs to jump onto or whatever his queue is going to change, because that's a separate person doing that. So recently, the show that I was talking to KJ sir about, this friend of his that we are mentioning, we went through these changes, right? And in those changes, because we were running a separate video server, we then kind of punched up whichever AV we needed to, and then MC could just take on from there, right? In that show, for example, also, like you said, in the live event, we can decide, okay, just talk to the MC, so-and-so will also go up and talk on stage. Same thing happened there as well, right? So the managing director was no part of no cues. There were no camera checks, no clap tests, nothing done for him. He was never in the show. 15 minutes before the show finished, we started getting requests saying he is now going to come and talk. So, okay, now what do we do? What we done actually was that we used one of their VPs, cut their full screen down onto a templated view and all of that, and he walked into his cab, right? So in real time, we were then able to bring them out of template, put the branding on from another machine. So even put his title on, so even though the guys, they were not seeing the title on their foldbacks, but what the world was seeing, there was a title for his name and everything else that was replaced in real time, because we couldn't do that on the production machine, which was running the main show. So we used a sub machine, turned it on, put the title, took the feed from there, and then started pushing that out.
And in terms of backups, because there are so many things that can go wrong, right, from bandwidth to power to machine failure, and if it could be an issue with the microsite. What are the sort of backups or checks we have in place to kind of, are we mirroring stuff like on other machines or on bandwidth, etc.? What can you please throw a little light on this?
So like I said, we've got multiple internet connections, high speed running in the office. All our shows always, so you have a main show running on one machine. Just before the show starts, that show file is then shared to another machine over the network. So it's basically, in case of failure, it's the amount of time that machine needs to open the file and for everybody to refresh their browsers to reconnect onto the system, and the show can be up and running. The other option is that we operate the complete show on the cloud. So in that case, there is no issue of power failure or so to speak, internet failures and things, bandwidth losses, so to speak. All it needs for us is to move, if our Wi-Fi has died, move from Wi-Fi to 4G, and we are still over a real VNC or a TeamViewer or whatever we are connecting to the cloud on, and we've got control back of the cloud and the show is up and running. So backups again have been planned in that way. Depending on the needs of the show, how much money do we have available to kind of access the cloud, because cloud, the issues are...
There would be a cost implication on something like this, right?
Yeah, we end up paying for all the data on the cloud. So that's the only thing that we, depending on shows, we kind of decide to take a call. But even if we are not using the cloud, we have a backup machine.
And what sort of servers are you running? You're running an AWS server?
So we've tested AWS, we've tested Azure, we've tested Paperspace.
I think all three are equally good. Great, that's all for me. Thanks.
Is there also a
Abhishek,
sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to check in case I want to plug in a live coverage from a physical location into the show. That's also a possibility.
Yes, absolutely.
What else would I need? Will I need an OB van or something from
No,
there?
you just need a phone.
mobile connection or something?
A phone. If you have nothing, you need a phone.
Just a phone can also do.
But you'll have to tell us before. We'll have to get an application downloaded.
It is not an...
and then we're in control.
Abhishek, Ram.
Hi, Ram.
Hi. So what I wanted to check with you, so there is a press conference that is happening. Okay, I'm just giving you a situation. A press conference with about 35 artists. Okay, so you've heard about my show, right? So we are trying to do a digital press conference for my show. So the idea is that there will be about 35 feeds, which means 35 artists will be logging in from different locations.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a presenter. There will be, some people from the platform, which means the clients, about 5 to 6 people. There will be some people from, the producer side. So overall, we'll be having about 45, people involved for talking or for answering questions or whatever for the press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Besides this, there will be about 50 people from the media who will attend.
Mm-hmm.
And we might want to give them a chance to get interactive with the guys on the press conference. Like, for example, if I'm a media person, I would need to log in and I need to ask a question to this particular person. So how does this whole thing pan out? Will it be possible in a system like this where I can bring in 35, 40, 50 people onto the presenting side, right? The panel side, and about 50 people on the viewing side? Does that work? Is it possible? Is it feasible?
So we'll have to run a simulation. Honestly, we've not tried 35 people coming onto the panel side, but it's a question of 2 days. Monday, Tuesday, we can run the trials and we can let you know how successful we are, because the main issue is NDI. So every NDI feed that we takes roughly about 100 MB of space over the internet, over the network.
Right. Over your servers, over your cloud servers.
No, over your network port.
Over network port. Okay. Yeah.
So if you are running, say, 10 NDIs, it's 1 Gbps. Right? So how much will the network kind of be able to take, or the network card of the machine be able to take? We'll have to kind of compare that between a cloud machine and a local machine. And in about 6 to 8 hours, we can offer trial. We can give you an answer on this. But theoretically, if we are doing the cloud allows us 10 Gbps, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Cool. So I can take it offline with you then. Either me or Rohan.
In terms of the questions and everything else, it completely depends upon, again, how you want to play it. So if you, for example, want to go live about your show onto your Facebook page or whatever else, because you want to gather a larger audience, then we can even...
No, समझ लो ये closed door media conference है.
Right? No, I'm saying even if you want to do that, it could even mean something like a Twitter handle. So all your questions can get posted to a Twitter handle,
Sure.
and they can be thrown up on screen in real time. So you can have moderation of it sitting in your office. We'll give you the
Great.
moderation engine. You decide what question you want to throw up at what time.
Or a short code or whatever it works.
Yeah.
For fans to send out questions, right?
Yes, it could be a short
Cool.
code, could be a WhatsApp chat, it could be Twitter, it could be.
Right. Okay. Cool. Awesome. This sounds good, man. So either me or Rohan will get in touch with you offline.
Perfect.
Super. Thanks, yeah, Abhishek.
Thanks, Abhishek.
There's another question on Zoom chat. There's another question on Zoom chat from Livewire Events and Promos. What is the video input it takes in terms of resolution?
Yeah, we've done this.
We answered.
We've covered this question.
And in
Okay.
terms of show
And we also have a few questions. Sorry, please go on.
Please. Sorry. So, in terms of Showrun, what sort of a back-end team do you have? Because, for example, I'm sitting out of Pune, and obviously your studios are in Delhi, so we're not going to take it there.
No, we'll get you onto a real-time talkback over the internet. So whether you're sitting in Pune or the US doesn't matter.
Okay, super.
Okay. So what we are doing is we are combining gaming technology into this. So we're using a mix between Discord and TeamSpeak and things like that to be able to set up talkback channels between the crews, right? So even if you're in Pune, you could actually call your entire show scene by scene. If you want.
Can I get some sort of an out for the previews, etc., on my computer or something like that?
Yes.
I can get a preview set as well, right? Okay, great. So you will have what, about 4 or 5 people at the back end, one shooting audio, one shooting videos, one doing the entire.
Typically, the show is operated by 2 people because it's a PC-based system, right? So it's multi-monitor. So essentially, one person is operating it, the other is guiding in terms of any issue, saying, okay, this is what we need to change. So there isn't physical hardware infrastructure that's really deployed, because then routing and everything makes it a problem with latencies, right? So typically 2 people per show, and then on the backup machine, there is somebody sitting at all points of time.
Yeah,
And one of these guys can jump into the backup at that.
Got that. Super.
There are a few more questions coming from Facebook. If we could please have those questions.
I will have to move to speaker view. Give me a moment, please. Yeah, can you put the questions up again? Or let me actually look at it on Facebook.
Yes. Sure. Sorry, can you show us, Abhishek, what?
So there is a question. This is a question from Raghav. This is a question from Raghav. How are the folks currently talking?
Oh yeah,
I believe Raghav is.
I didn't see the entire email. I saw Ali's mail right up to YouTube, and I directly logged in. So, is there any way we can all take a look at the speaker view, what the backend looks like?
In terms of the speaker view, yeah, sure.
Yeah, if I'm a speaker, you're getting me on the panel in the back end. Can we take a look at what it looks like?
Speaker view.
Or is it the same? Like I'm on my Zoom right now, I just log in. It's pretty much the same.
It's pretty much the same. It's basically, if you go to digital.scoop.events, you just put in a password, and you'll have 2 windows, one on your left, one to your right, and a main screen. I don't know if somebody can do a share screen. Okay, let me actually find an image. I'll find an image. Make life a little easier. So essentially, speaker view is a 2x2 PIP. You can decide to have a single PIP or a 2x2. The smaller PIP is your own window, and the larger PIP is the feed that we are sending you. which is in our control. So we can decide if it's the world feed that's coming to you, or a timer that's coming to you, or a multi-feed that's coming to you.
Right.
So
And
that's
also,
pretty
they
simple.
could take the call from, obviously, I know a laptop is preferred in this case, but they could take it from an iPad or a phone as well.
Yes, we've in fact, over this show that we've been discussing with KJ sir, we've had Mandira, for example, connected from a phone and from an iPad both. So phone being the backup connection, because at night it was raining heavily in Mumbai, so phone was on 4G, iPad was on Wi-Fi, and we kind of ran that as a backup for her in real time. So in case one of her connections dropped, we could have kind of picked her up.
Super.
पैसे यही बताएगा कि उसके लिए अलग फोन करना पड़ेगा?
हाँ जी,
पैसे यही बताएगा कि इसके लिए अलग फोन करना पड़ेगा?
वो अलग से करना पड़ेगा, प्रोजेक्ट डिपेंडेंट है. So Vikas is asking what is the number of camera views we could get from the attendees. So Vikas, essentially, if you are, for example, using Zoom chat as an application, then we are pinning videos. Okay, so as many number of people, so it needs to be in the meeting format and not in a webinar format, because in the webinar format you will obviously not have too many people's videos coming in. So in a meeting format, we can take as many people one by one as we are pinning and taking in. For NDI, if you are using NDI, then like I said, it's dependent upon, in cases of Skype and everything else, though the feed quality is a lot better, and it's independent, so we can kind of at the same time have 5 speakers coming in from Skype, unlike Zoom where we can take them one by one. In the case of Skype, we could have 5, 8, 10, 12, whatever, but then that capacity is limited to the capacity of the local network. So if you're on the cloud, it's maybe 15, 18, 20 people simultaneously. If you're on a local network, then obviously, because we want to keep some part of the network usage reserved for the uplink and for all the other calls coming into the network on the machine, so we'd like to restrict it to about 3 to 4.
So Abhishek, Raghav again, sorry. Just to understand, as you mentioned, we can either do this on a webinar call or a regular Zoom meeting, right? Both will have the same functions. That's not a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
Even when you combine 2 servers, if you have more than 8 speakers, there's no virtually time gap between the 2. It will still be like you're using one machine.
Yes. So NDI, sir, is, just for understanding, is the latest protocol in video around the world.
NDI OP क्या है भाई, पहले तो यही बता दे.
So NDI is a protocol which is being used for video. Now, for example, large sports like IPL and everybody else is doing, that they've stopped sending out their PCRs onto the main games. Okay, so it's happening in football, cricket, all of these, Kabaddi, Pro Kabaddi also, for example, in India. So what they're really doing is that their cameras go to whichever city that the matches are happening. The PCR sits in the city that their main hub may be, right? So in case of Premiership, it is London or Sussex. In the case of IPL, it's Sony office in Mumbai. In Kabaddi's case, again, it's the Sony or Prime Focus office, whichever they're doing it out of. And the entire video is sent over the internet, over public internet, using NDI. Okay. So NDI in that sense is zero, almost close to zero latency. It's roughly about between 5 and 30 milliseconds, which is, so they've done the latest test that they've done of NDI over the cloud, but that if you're using cloud, NDI is very expensive. But just to give you an idea, so they've done a test where they sent a feed out from the US to Singapore, which is roughly 17,000 kilometers, and going back into Singapore. And for this entire journey, they've lost only 17 frames, which is less than half a second.
Okay.
So we are doing it over the network, right? So in our case, it's not even that, because it's local 5 meter, 8 meter over the network.
Abhishek, Raghav again, sorry, I have a lot of questions as they're coming to mind. I'm just going to keep them coming.
Please.
So I'm doing a format, actually, I just shared a brief last night with Ali. We're doing a format where we have an awards evening. Say I have 2 MCs. Now, though we're going to be doing it out of the client's office in a conference room, the MCs will be shot live. Now, would you recommend us using an external audio setup where we have two microphones for the MC and then giving an audio out? And how would that work? Because do you need an encoder or something separately, or how does that work? Or because being a 2-hour show, maybe the MCs won't have. They'll really have to raise their volumes for the phone or the camera to pick it up very well. So, what do you recommend for something like that?
So ideally for something like that, what you don't need too much. You need a sound card attached to the laptop and a decent enough microphone going into that sound card.
So if I give them two lapels or headsets, I have a small mixer and give you a sound card, how do I plug it into you?
The source will come into it as an audio. So which is why I said if they have a sound card, then the call link that we send you, you can just define that source as a microphone source in the call.
So that happens on Zoom also, right?
That happens on Zoom as well.
Okay, so I give you the video separately?
No, you send it. We'll take it on. So in this case, the call link that we send you will work with you to be able to set it up in a way that you just need to do a basic microphone routing in your browser.
Okay.
And you're good to go. You don't need to send us a separate audio feed and a separate
video.
Because
then sync will be an issue again, right?
It won't be.
It won't be.
It won't be. Okay. So at our end, what we've got is we've gotten the ability to be able to resync your audio video. So even though there is the encoding that the software does a syncing of audio video, we can also delay the audio. So because over the internet, when you're transporting, video arrives later, audio arrives first because it's obviously heavier, right? So we can set audio delays by the millisecond. So if it's even like 4 milliseconds late, we can change it to 4 milliseconds.
In real time,
400 milliseconds delayed, we can change it by 400 milliseconds. So that's complete control of us.
And you can do this in real time?
We can do this in real time.
Okay. Yeah, so I think a lot of us do that similarly for a watch out as well. Many a time we give the audio a bit of a lag.
Yeah.
Because again, there's a delay issue there.
So this system that we are essentially using is deployed in smaller sports, in churches, in live broadcasts. So for example, Belgium, a couple of news channels are using the system. In the US, a lot of the sports are using the system. So we can even do scoreboards and things like that. If you end up doing a client activity, if you want to do a live scoreboard, we can do all of that stuff as well. So because of that, a lot of these things that we're right now speaking about have already been thought through in the system and then kind of been brought in. So it's been used because it's used in churches and all, you kind of need the instrumentation to sound right, which is why the plugins and everything come in, right? Because it's used in sport and you have commentary and everything happening, at times you need to delay the audio because or video because of the whole commentary element coming in. So these functionalities are already built in.
Cool, I'm good.
There's a question from Alok on the Zoom chat box. Can we make post AV of the virtual?
Yes. So Alok, we can record multiple outputs. So we can stream multiple outputs. We can record multiple outputs. So our recording could even mean that you can decide to record, for example, if you're doing an awards night or you're doing a corporate event where you want CEO speech to be recorded as an ISO, which means only his video is recorded without any branding, anything else, you want to use it later for another purpose, we can even do that. So we can set up, while we can set up multiple streams, we can set up to 3 or 4 recording matrices, which actually help us define what we want in that recording and then use that recording for a post AV or whatever we need.
Hi, Abhishek.
Hi, Dev.
Hi. So, Abhishek, I had a question. Let's say I have a band performing out of Mumbai. So, we have a jam band in Mumbai. So, they perform, all their instruments are connected with the amplifiers. Let's say it's connected with the amplifier and then connected to the main sound PA system. So, is there any way we could take it down onto the video we're trying to broadcast?
Okay. So, in this case, if you've got a band sitting in, say, for example, in a studio, they're all together, it's a composite feed, you can even send us a live link of your audio file. We'll help you set it up separately using another software. And if there is, so you can actually decide to add whatever plugins, presets, improve the quality. You send us a master audio and if need be, we can kind of add whatever else that needs to get added, because if there is any loss in transmission or whatever else, we can do all of that, and we can put it on the video. So we can take audio video separately, we can take audio video together, completely depending on the use.
So we don't need any sort of extra hardware to be connected to our system, or do we?
No, it's basically a sound card.
Just
So,
a sound card.
and if you're doing all of this with a band, you'll obviously have a sound card in that environment, so we don't need it.
So of course we have a small console set up out of the studio which we have in Mumbai, and
Yeah.
what we are planning is the whole performance for the different corporates, let's say, at the same time, or maybe for the multiple people for the same corporate or the same company.
Mhm.
So it can be also taken out of the console, or only sound card.
You can what we will help you do is route your console audio into our call.
Okay.
And or into our camera feed, and it comes to us as a composite feed.
So I can connect the audio with the whatever camera I am using for the feeding, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Abhishek.
Yeah, Abhishek, sorry, Raghav again. One last question. I missed the green screen part. I had internet issues. So I just want to confirm, you can slap on graphics, creative, or a virtual set on a green screen live shoot, right?
Yes. So like you saw the virtual set with where Navish mentioned Anupam was sitting, that was happening live anyways. So if you're using an artist performance, we can do visuals or whatever else you want to. If you're using speakers and you, for example, have two speakers sitting in two different locations on green screens, we can even bring them in and combine them to make, and as long as they rehearse and they know that, okay, this guy is sitting to my right on film, and they look to the right and talk to the guy, you can actually even make it look real in that sense, even though they are in different locations.
Got that. Perfect.
So, Alok, to answer your question, product demo in our understanding, or at least in my understanding, will be done by a physical person. So it's a video feed essentially. So yes, we can do a product demo. Integration of product, if you want any kind of product animations, anything, product shots, pack shots, anything to come in, we can do all of that as well.
So product, maybe let's say if I'm doing a press conference and post the press conference, I want to leave people to interact with the product, but that'll not be interactive. It'll be just what the camera is going to show.
Not really, right? So if you're, for example, so doing this on a web application or a website, right? We can build the website in a way where your press conference part is live video, and then post the press conference, you click a link and you go into the product interaction, which could be a 360 of the product with the entire product brochure, whatever else, and it's released only when your webcast finishes.
Yeah. Post that.
Yeah.
And similarly, post the press conference, can we set up one-on-one interviews or for the speakers? Let's say can we set up 2-3 rooms or 2 rooms where the 2 speakers can be there and people can then fix up time with them and have a one-on-one with them on the web?
Yes, we can.
We can do that.
Not on our system, but on a partnership-based system that we are working with somebody else on. We can combine the two, and we can even do, for example, meeting rooms. We can do sponsor stalls. We can do brochures going out. We can do any kind of those interactions that we do. And that's also not a very extensive product to kind of adapt.
No, so if Zoom has breakout rooms, Abhishek, you can't integrate that into your platform?
If you're on Zoom, we can do it on Zoom anyways. But I'm actually referring to this in a way that where you're looking at product demos in 3Ds of products to be able to interact individually, then in that kind of an environment, you're obviously on the web. So coming back from the web onto Zoom will kind of defeat the purpose. So if that is the use case, then we can do it over the web only. We can use an application under which we can create a micro page where your product interaction and everything can happen. And that same application allows you to do one-on-one video as well. So you can schedule the one-on-one videos. You can watch the live stream. You can do the product interaction. You can do all of that in that same environment. So you don't need Zoom at all in that.
And what sort of a file would you need for like a product view or a product 360?
Most of these are usually FBX when you're integrating on the web, because FBX, low polygon FBX is what you'll be able to use.
So that's it from my side. Anyone else has anything? We'll connect later for I have something to submit on Monday, so we need to connect for that.
Sure thing, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Abhishek. You've been very patient through this process. Thanks, Ali.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for actually taking out the time, man. That's more important. Us guys, we are doing demos, so for us, patience is not as important as for you to kind of sit through the entire thing. So thank you to you.
Yeah, it so happened that I happened to connect with Dedi yesterday, and he said, "Listen, this is what we did." So I immediately reached out to you guys, and I think it's come at a good time because there are a couple of things in the pipeline, and we'd like partners who understand events as well, and not only technical. So I think that's important. Yeah. Good. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ali.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone.
हाँ मैं कर रहा हूँ मैंने मैसेज देख लिया I'll call you.
हाँ ठीक है उसको भी गिटार भी है
दीपा जी मेरा भी डील साथ में कर लेना
और चिंता ना कर तू दस दी मैनू अपने ही बंदे ने आप डील करा देंगे यार अपने लोग ने घर वाली गल है गल ही कोई नहीं चलो ओके
Preview.